the Special Magistrate Code Enforcement meeting of the City of St. Pete Beach for Monday, November 10th, 2025. My name is Erica Agello, and I am the appointed Special Magistrate to hear today's cases. I am a practicing attorney licensed by the Florida Bar and is board certified in city, county, and local government law. I have been appointed to this position in accordance with the authorities set forth in Chapter 162 Florida statutes and the City of St. Pete Beach Code of Ordinances. I am not an employee of the City of St. Pete Beach, and I do not represent the city here today. I do not confer with the city's code enforcement officers outside of the hearing process about your cases. It is my role to fairly and objectively review the matters presented. As such, I would like to advise you of certain matters related to today's proceedings. Today's matters will be heard in the order on which they appear on the agenda unless otherwise agreed. Every effort will be made to hear all persons having relevant evidence, arguments, or comments related to the specific case that is being heard. If you wish to speak today, it is necessary that you will be sworn in, which I will do momentarily. All testimony given will be done so under oath. In all cases, the city has the burden of proof, so the city will present its case first. The respondent will then be given an opportunity to refute the city's allegations. Formal rules of evidence do not apply to this proceeding. However, I will make every effort to ensure that fundamental fairness and due process is afforded to all parties. After hearing all relevant evidence, I will issue an order. The order will be reduced to writing and all parties will be provided with a copy, so please ensure that we have your current address or email address. Additionally, you are advised that I do not have the authority to grant you a variance, permit, or special exception of any kind. My role is solely to determine whether a city code has been violated and under some circumstances to provide a reasonable time to correct the violation by whatever means are available to you. Please be advised that you may be subject to a fine and a lien may be recorded on your property if the violation is not corrected by the compliance deadline, if one is provided. If you wish to present any evidence today, please sign in at the podium before you speak, and it will be necessary that you swear or affirm to tell the truth. Therefore, at this time, I will swear in any witnesses. Anyone wishing to speak today, if you could please stand and raise your right hand to be sworn. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Ma'am, just, it's okay. No worries. All right, any changes to the agenda today?
Good morning, Madam Special Magistrate Pete Doerr, Code Enforcement Manager for the City of St. Pete Beach. The change to the agenda is case number 2025-0061. Case 4A on the agenda is continued to December.
Okay. All right, any other changes?
No, ma'am.
All right, I will get you an order of continuance for that case.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
And just to be clear for the record, our December meeting is December 8th, correct?
Yes.
So December 8th at 10 a.m. Okay, then moving on to the first agenda item, case number 3A. Case number 20250220, City of St. Pete Beach versus, I'm going to keep messing that up, Mr. Starkus.
There you go. Good morning, Madam Magistrate. Stephen Rivera on behalf of the City of St. Pete Beach. Case number 20250220. This was a status hearing for the property owner to try to come into compliance with your order. There was a demo permit submitted on the 4th. So it's in review still. Looks like it needs some additional documents. I'd like to continue this to January.
Okay. Mr. Starkus, do you have any objection to continuing the case until the January 12th hearing?
Yes, actually, I already submitted insurance licenses, and he even gave me permit number. Only a few items still missing. I'm working on survey.
Okay.
And I need 2 signatures, plumbing and mechanical contractors.
Okay.
Probably that's all, I guess.
Yeah, and I just want to see the permit secured
Before you consider this,
before we
close the case out. Okay.
So,
Okay, and do you think with those items that the city's requiring, you'll be able to get those prior to the end of the year?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
I think so, yes.
Okay, then let's do this. We'll go ahead and continue the case until January, I believe it's January 12th.
Yes.
January 12th, and then you may not need to come back here if it's all said and done. So just stay in contact with the city. If something goes awry or something happens, then we'll see you on January 12th, and we can discuss it at that time.
Okay.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Starkis, and I will get an order to continue out for the January 12th at 10 a.m. Okay, moving on to agenda item 3B, case number 2025-0538, City of St. Pete Beach versus Paso Grill Beach Condo Phase 1 Association, Inc.
Good morning, Madam Magistrate. Again, Stephen Rivera on behalf of the City of St. Pete Beach. For this case, there was a couple of Scrivener errors. It was mailed to the right people, but there was an issue with the parcel number and the owner information. So we're requesting an order to dismiss.
Okay. So the city is looking to voluntarily dismiss this case against the property?
Correct.
Okay.
There was just too many Scrivener errors to overlook. At this point, we would just wish that it'd be dismissed.
Sure. Okay. I will consider that case dismissed and get you an order regarding same.
Thank you.
Moving on to agenda item 3C, case number 2025-0489, City of St. Pete Beach versus Mark Colburn and Deborah Colburn.
Thank you, Madam Magistrate. Again, Steve Rivera on behalf of the City of St. Pete Beach Code Enforcement. This was a status hearing to get the garage permit and repaired, the items outside removed. The property is compliant. Pull up a couple of pictures here. No, overhead, please. So this was where the outdoor storage was at. And this is the garage door. They got a permit. It was inspected. It's been replaced. So the city's not asking for any fines, just the $330 administrative costs.
Okay. Is anyone here on behalf of the property owner? Mr. Colburn? I don't see him in the audience. Okay. All right, I will find that the property is now in compliance. I am not going to assess any fines or fees, but I will assess the $330 in reasonable administrative costs to the city and get an order to that effect.
Thank you.
All right, moving right along. Agenda item 3D, case number 2025-0507, City of St. Pete Beach versus Karush Bakhtinarian.
Thank you, Madam Magistrate. Stephen Rivera again on behalf of the City of St. Pete Beach. This was a status hearing to see if the property was grandfathered for the short-term rentals. We are still going through, there was a ton of paperwork that was submitted. They're still reviewing it. We wish to continue this till January so that the proper people can look at the paperwork to see if we can get this grandfathered.
Okay. And is the property owner here at all? Okay. Are you okay with continuing this until the January 12th hearing so that the city can go through the paperwork and determine if you're grandfathered in for the short-term rentals? Okay, perfect. Not a problem. Then I will go ahead and continue this hearing until January 12th at 10 a.m. And then we will meet again at that time to see if we move forward or if the property is grandfathered.
God bless you. Thank you. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Okay. 3E, case number 2025-0530, City of St. Pete versus Brandon Owens and Alexandra Owens.
Thank you, Madam Magistrate. Stephen Rivera again on behalf of the City of St. Pete Beach. This was a status hearing for the vacant lot that needed to be cut. The property is compliant. I do have a few photos. Can you go ahead, please? So there's the lot now. Everything's been cut down. And that's the other side of the lot. So the city's not seeking any fines, just the administrative costs.
And what's the amount on the cost?
I'm sorry, 330.
Okay, anyone here on behalf of the property owner, Mr. or Mrs. Owens? Okay, seeing no one. I will find that the property is now in compliance. I'm not going to assess any fines, but I will assess the $330 in reasonable administrative costs of the city.
Thank you.
Agenda item 3F, case number 2025-0356, City of St. Pete Beach versus Julia Barancato.
Good morning, Special Magistrate Ayako Rexshell on behalf of the City of St. Pete Beach. This is a status hearing for case 202500356. Your order gave the owner 30 days to apply for a demo permit by 11/9. She did apply for the permit on 10/19. And I do have a picture of the property here. It is overhead, please. It is being prepared for demo. You can see the silk fence that's been erected. And confirmation here from the permit administrator that the demo permit has been applied for.
Okay, and you said that was on 10/19?
Yes.
So, but for the city, that property has now come into compliance?
Yes. So property is compliant. We won't be seeking any fines, just administrative costs of $330.
Great, thank you so much. Is the property owner here?
Don't think so.
Okay, seeing no one, I am going to find that the property was in compliance as of October 19th, 2025. I'm not going to assess any fines, but I will assess the $330 of administrative costs to the city.
Thank you.
Okay, agenda item 3G, case number 20250438, City of St. Pete Beach versus Presentacion Ferranda.
So Ayaka Rexshell, City of St. Pete Beach Code Enforcement. This is a status hearing check for case number 20250438. The order that you gave them 14 days to remove the debris by 10/24. It is now compliant. Got pictures over here of the property that it's been tidied up, as well as their big dead tree removed. So again, city won't be seeking any fines, just $330 in administrative costs.
Okay. Is the property owner here? Ms. Ferranda? Okay, seeing no one. I am going to find that the property was in compliance as of October 24th, 2025. I am not going to award any fines, but I will award the $330 of reasonable administrative costs of the city. Agenda item 3H, case number 2025044, City of St. Pete Beach versus James Moroli and Aaron Moroli.
So Ayaka Rexshell, City of St. Pete Beach Code Enforcement, status hearing for case number 2025044. The property is compliant. You had given them 7 days to cut the property, the vacant lot. And that's the overhead right there. It has been completely, so it is compliant. Won't be seeking any fines, just $330 in administrative costs.
Okay. Anyone here on behalf of the property owners? Mr. or Ms. Moroli? Okay, seeing no one, I am going to find that the property was in compliance as of October 22nd, 2025. I'm not going to award any fines, but I will award the $330 in the reasonable administrative costs of the city. Agenda item 3I, case number 2025047, City of St. Pete Beach versus Tricia Figgins.
Ayaka Rexshell, City of St. Pete Beach Code Enforcement. This is a status hearing for case 2025047. Your order gave them 14 days to trim the property by 10/24. It is compliant, and I have some pictures here in the overhead that it has been trimmed, debris removed. So, city won't be seeking any fines, just $330 in administrative costs.
Okay, anyone here on behalf of the property owner? Ms. Figgins? Okay, seeing no one, I am going to find that the property was in compliance as of 10/24/2025. I am not going to award any fines, but I will award the $330 in reasonable administrative costs of the city. Agenda item 3J, case number 2025045, City of St. Pete Beach versus James Strebler.
Ayaka Rexshell, City of St. Pete Beach Code Enforcement. This is a status hearing for case 2025045. Your order gave them 14 days to remove 3 dead trees that were 2 up front and 1 in the rear, and they were compliant. So these are the pictures. Overhead, please. The trees in the front have been removed, and the large one in the rear that we spotted has also been removed. So this property is compliant, and we will not be seeking any fines, just $330 in administrative costs.
Okay, anyone here on behalf of the property owner, Mr. Strembler? Seeing no one, I'm going to find that the property is in compliance and has been since 10/24/2025. I am not going to award any fines, but I will award the reasonable administrative costs of the city in the amount of $330. Agenda item 3K, case number 20250484, City of St. Pete Beach versus John Scott Olson Jr.
Iacco Rock Shell City of St. Pete Beach Code Enforcement, status hearing for case 20250484. Your order gave the owner 14 days to register the vehicles, as the property had been cleaned up previously. So they are compliant now. They provided proof of registration for the black Mazda, and the unregistered trailer has been removed. Only the vehicles remaining are registered. So the city will be seeking no fines, just $330 in administrative costs.
Okay. Anyone here on behalf of the property owner, Mr. Olson? All right, seeing no one, I will find that the property was in compliance on 10/24/2025. I am not going to award any fines, but I will award the $330 in reasonable administrative costs to the city. Well, that was a very successful. Yeah. Okay, moving on to new cases. Case 4A has been continued to December 8th, so moving on to case 4B. Case 20250147, City of St. Pete Beach versus Kevin Hannon and Robert Smith.
Okay. Iacco Rock Shell City of St. Pete Beach Code Enforcement. This is case 02025047. The respondents are Kevin Hannon and Robert Smith. The violation address is 327 72nd Avenue. Violation description: the property is in violations of section 98-123.1. Permits required of the Code of Ordinances of the City of St. Pete Beach. The case summary: initial inspection was done in February 19th of 2025. A courtesy notice was dated and mailed certified on 3/13/25. A notice of violation was dated and mailed certified on 4/17/25, and a notice of hearing dated and posted on the property 10/24/25. This is an affidavit of posting at the property address 327 72nd Avenue on October 24th. So these are the initial pictures from back in February 19th, a dumpster showing all the debris and doing renovations and repair on the fence there. Again, the newly erected fence. Debris. This is the work that was done on the side of the property. Looks like electrical work. In March, inspected again, they were continuing their repairs. And these are the renovations that are completed as of October 27th. See a drastic difference, and none of this was permitted, so. And there's the completed fence. That's the current home condition. So the corrective action. The property must obtain a permit for the renovations completed. And as of yesterday, they had just submitted a permit for the hurricane repairs. So technically it has been compliant, and we are recommending no fines at this time, only administrative costs of $330.
Okay. So though they did not comply by the date in the notice of violation, the city is not seeking any fines since the property did come into compliance prior to the hearing.
Yes.
Okay.
By
right.
1 day.
Is there anyone here on behalf of the property owner? Okay, if you would please come up, state your name for the record.
Morning, ma'am. Robert Smith.
Okay, and as you can see, the city is not seeking any fines against the property.
Yes, ma'am.
However, the city is looking for the $330 and having to prosecute this case. Do you have any comments that you want to make on behalf of yourself?
No, ma'am.
Okay. All right, well then we will go ahead. I will find that the property was in violation of stated code sections. The property has now come into compliance. I am not going to assess any fines, but I will award the $330 in administrative costs to the city. You will be receiving an order to that effect. Just understand that since I did find the property is in violation, if it happens in the future, in the next 5 years, it would be considered a repeat offense. So hopefully I don't see you back before me.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to case number 20250358, City of St. Pete Beach versus Laura Vellucci.
Okay, Iaka Ruckteschell, City of St. Pete Beach Code Enforcement. This is case 0202500358. The respondent is Laura Vellucci. Violation address 510 78th Avenue. Violation description, the property is in violation of sections 46-33(1), items A through C, enumeration, 98-64A, general maintenance, 98-65(4) and 6, unsightly conditions, and 98-66A, B, 20, 22A, and B2, C2, and 3 of the residential and commercial property maintenance of the Code of Ordinances in the City of St. Pete Beach. The case summary, the initial inspection was on June 5th, 2025. Notice of violation dated and mailed certified on June 11th, 2025. Notice of hearing dated and posted on the property October 24th, 2025. This is the affidavit of posting at the property address 510 78th Avenue on October 24th. So going back to the property back in June, this was the initial debris and overgrowth that was found. Same picture, different angle. Still overgrowth. Continued back in October, it was still overgrown, hence it was taken to special magistrate. Dead trees and debris. Further debris in the driveway. Same pictures. So the corrective action, the property must clean up the landscape and remove dead trees and debris. The property, however, is compliant. They worked on it this weekend. So I have pictures that were taken this morning. Overhead, please. All the debris is removed, and they've cut back on all the overgrowth.
Any concern with the remaining palm tree that appears to be?
They've actually applied for a demo permit as well.
Okay.
So at this point in time, the city won't be asking for any fines, just $330 in administrative costs.
Okay, anyone here on behalf of the property owner, Ms. Vellucci? Okay, I will find that the property was in violation of the stated code sections. However, as of the date of the hearing, the property came into compliance. I will not be assessing any fines, but I will be assessing the $330 in reasonable administrative costs of the city. All right, moving on to agenda item 4D, case number 20250606, City of St. Pete Beach versus Shamaro Homes, LLC.
Iaka Ruckteschell, City of St. Pete Beach Code Enforcement. This is case 20250606. The respondent is Sharmo Homes, LLC. Violation address 447 80th Avenue. Violation description, the property is in violations of sections 46-33, 1, A through B, and 3, enumeration, and 98-66A, B, 20, 22A, and B2. Residential and commercial property maintenance of the Code of Ordinances of the City of St. Pete Beach. The case summary, initial inspection, September 2nd, 2025. Notice of violation dated and mailed on certified on September 8th, 2025. Notice of hearing dated and posted on the property October 24th, 2025. This is the affidavit of posting at the property address 447 80th Avenue on October 24th, 25. So these are the initial pictures taken back on September 2nd of the overgrown landscape and dead trees. There was a row of, looks like 4 dead trees there that were all dead. Overgrowth on the driveway, debris. Overgrowth. Further overgrowth of the front yard. That's a better picture of the east boundary where the 4 dead trees are present. Then October 24th, the property had cut the grass. However, the dead trees are still remaining on the side. And in fact, the furthest one closest to the house had fallen over and fallen into the neighbor's property. I've identified the fallen tree right there that's fallen on the neighbor's house. Another angle of the tree. So the corrective action is the property must maintain the landscape and remove the dead trees. One is collapsed on the neighboring house at 439 80th Avenue. The property is actually now compliant because they just removed the trees on Friday. So I have pictures over here. All those 4 trees that were remaining have been removed, so it's no longer posing a threat to the neighbor's carport. And that's a different angle there from them. So we're going to consider the property compliant and just only seek $330 in administrative costs.
Okay, anyone here on behalf of the property owner? If you could come, please state your name for the record, and then if you have anything to say with regard to your case.
Good morning. My name is Charlene Morris, and I have nothing to add.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. I'm going to find that the property was in violation of the stated code sections. It is now in compliance. I am not going to award any fines, but I will assess the $330 in reasonable administrative costs of the city. I will get you an order to that effect, much like I told the gentleman before. This is the first violation. If in the next 5 years I find the same violation, then it could be considered a repeat violation. So hopefully I don't see you before me again. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to agenda item 4E, case number 2025063, City of St. Pete Beach versus William Buchanan and Teresa Buchanan.
Good morning, Special Magistrate. Lucy Knight, Code Enforcement for the City of St. Pete Beach.
Good morning.
Clicker.
And welcome to your first magistrate hearing. They don't normally go this easy, so just know that.
Case number 2025663, respondents William and Teresa Bush. Affidavit of posting. This picture is true and accurate representation of what I observed on the date it was taken. Advertisement on Airbnb. The host. Review by Michael. Review by Rosalind. Review by John. A review by Hunter. Review by Dylan. Review by McQuell. Review by France. Review by Stephen. Review by Riley. Corrective action, property can only be rented monthly. Property is not compliant. Recommended fine if it is $1,000 per violation. 9 reviews totaling $9,000 plus $329 in administrative costs only, and any recording fees that may be associated with this case. This concludes the presentation.
Okay, and my question is on the notice of violation, the section cited is section 9.5, prohibited uses and structures, which said all uses and structures not of a nature specifically or provisionally permitted here and are hereby prohibited in the RU2 residential district. So it's the city's contention that short-term rentals are not permitted in this district at all, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you went through the reviews. Some of them said stayed for a few nights. Others did not say that, said group stay or something of that nature.
Stay for a few weeks.
Okay.
A few days, and like if I circled the date at the bottom, like 10/3, but the review said stayed 3 weeks before or something like that.
So the testimony from the city is that the ones that stayed a few nights, that indicates they were obviously staying less than 30 days. The other ones that you've indicated happened within like the same month.
Yes.
Therefore, based on the city's review of these reviews, it indicated to the city that they were being rented for less than 30
Yes,
days. Okay, based on the timing of the reviews.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and this is the Airbnb policy?
Airbnb policy.
Okay, and it states that reviews have to be put in 14 days after checkout.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. Anyone here on behalf of the property owners? If you could please come up, state your names for the record.
Good morning, I'm Jessica Golden. I'm the host representing the property owners, Teresa and William Buchanan.
Okay, and you said Jessica Golden. Miss Golden, and what company are you with?
Golden Realty Consulting.
Okay. And you have with you here today both property owners?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, you might go ahead, Miss Golden.
We would just like to state that we were not aware of the policy, but now that it has been brought to our attention, we have already taken the corrective action. These are the images of the calendars that have been updated requiring a 30-day stay or longer. That's VRBO, this is the Airbnb calendar. And then we also use a property management tool to sync the calendars, and that too is requiring a 30-day stay.
Okay, you fixed the availability to book. Are there any outstanding reservations that are less than 30 days that are currently on the books?
Yes, and we have sought clarification on that. We actually contacted the city and spoke to a representative just to clarify whether the notice is asking us from the state forward to take the corrective action, which we have for 30 days or longer stays. But we are seeking clarification and wanted to verify as well that the existing bookings that were made prior to this notice are okay.
Okay, well, that's something that the city is going to have to contend with. I will say what I'm here to determine at this point is the nature of the violation is that it's irreversible or irreparable, means that you have rented the property, money's already exchanged hands, the stay has already happened. I can't give you time to undo the stay unless we had a time machine, and gosh, I'd be using it for something much different than this. But I can tell you in the past, and of course I'd verify with the city, but I can tell you in the past, if it continues to rent for the short term, it's still in violation of the city, and the city's not going to give concessions on actively violating its code. So, Mr. Dewar, any point to that?
You are correct.
Okay.
Magistrate.
So in the past, my orders have said that all future bookings need to be canceled and that you need to show us proof that they've been canceled in order to be compliant. So I'm verifying with the city that that's continued. Understanding that you did not understand before, can I ask when did you all purchase the property? June of this year. Okay. Is this the first rental property that you've purchased anywhere? No. So you are familiar with renting property?
In Georgia.
In Georgia, okay. And so understanding the laws are different in Georgia. When you moved to Florida, did you do any due diligence with regard to if you could even rent the property, if it could be an Airbnb, anything of that nature?
Yeah, a bit. It was a bit unclear to us, though. I wasn't really sure, but we talked to some people, and it seemed like it was okay. And, so.
At any time, did you call the city and ask if it was okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay.
We also only started renting the property at the very end of August, so it only went on from end of August until this notice.
Okay. And on average, what was the charge for the short-term stays? You can either give me a nightly rate or you can give me for the week, whatever it ends up being.
We use a calendar management tool with dynamic pricing. It changes every single day.
Right, which is why I asked for on average. So can you give me on average, how much were they making per booking?
I would say on average closer to maybe 300 a night.
300 a night. And how much was an average stay? So I'm asking you this because the city is asking for a $9,000 fine. I'm trying to get an idea of if you've cleared $15,000, $20,000 on these rentals, maybe $9,000 doesn't sound so bad. If you've cleared $3,500 on these rentals, maybe $9,000 seems a little steep. So I'm trying to get the information so that I can be equitable in my ruling, because clearly y'all have violated the code, but it's not meant to be punitive, it's meant to be compliance-driven. So if you can give me as best and accurate as you're standing here today, on average, how much would it be?
Net after, all the fees, the cleaning costs.
No, you just give me gross. There's a cost of doing business, so.
6, 7,
Yeah,
gross.
yeah, about $6,500.
6,500 each?
No.
Oh, total, over,
Yeah, since we started.
since you've started at the end of August, $6,500 net or gross? Net, $6,500 net, okay. Okay, anything else that you would like to say in your defense?
Just that we're really sorry.
Okay, understood. Anything else from the city?
No, ma'am.
Okay. I am going to find that the property was in violation of the stated code sections for the number of violations cited by the city. I am going to find that all of those violations are irreparable or irreversible. I am going to assess a flat $3,000 fine for all 9 of them. That's quite a substantial amount. And then I'm going to tell you this. I hope to not see you guys again before me. When you purchase property in any jurisdiction, it's buyer beware, and also you're required to know the laws in the jurisdiction in which you operate. That's true if this was your primary home or if it's a rental property or whatnot. So if somebody represented to you that you could do this without checking first with the city, I would maybe go find that person and figure out why they told you that and maybe educate them a little bit so that they're not telling other people that. But hopefully that this will be the last time I see you and that you guys will enjoy the property here, maybe. So thank you very much. I will get you guys an order to that effect. And then I'm also going to include in my order the standard orders on short-term rentals, the $330 in reasonable administrative costs of the city. I'm also going to include a provision that within 10 business days that you can get to the city proof that the future bookings have been canceled, and that the property cannot be rented on a term less than 30 days in the future. Mr. Dewar, did I forget anything in the orders?
No.
And recording fees in the event that the lien has to be recorded.
Yes.
And recording fees in the event that the lien has to be recorded.
Thank you.
And I will get you guys a copy of that if you've got your contact information there. All right. Thank you very much. You guys have a good day. Okay. Oh. Moving on to the last agenda item.
No.
Lien is not? Oh, I skipped one. I got excited. Sorry, guys. Okay, moving on to agenda item 4F, case number 20250641, City of St. Pete Beach versus SGRE 2 LLC.
Thank you, Madam Magistrate. Stephen Rivera again on behalf of the City of St. Pete Beach Code Enforcement. This is case number 20250641. Respondent is SGRW2 LLC. Violation address is 205 Gulf Way. Violation description: the property is in violation of section 4633(1)A and B, and 3, enumeration, and 9866A, B, and 20, residential and commercial property maintenance of the Code of Ordinance of the City of St. Pete Beach. Case summary: initial inspection, 9/24/2025. Notice of violation dated and mailed certified, 10/14/2025. Notice of hearing dated and posted to the property, 10/28/2025. The following is a true and accurate representation of what I've witnessed. This is the affidavit of posting at 205 Gulf Way. It's a picture of the overgrown grass and palm fronds. It's a measurement of the grass. It's a view facing north. You can see the right-of-way and just outside the fence line there where it's overgrown. It's October 22nd. It's another picture of the grass overgrown. This is the back side of the lot from the alleyway. Corrective action, property must be cut and maintained regularly. Property is now compliant. Recommended fine is $330 administrative cost only and any recording fees that may be associated. And that concludes my presentation.
Okay, anyone here on behalf of the property owner? SGRE2 LLC? Okay, seeing no one, I am going to find that the property was in violation of the stated code sections, but is now compliant. I am not going to award any fines, but I will award the $330 in reasonable administrative costs of the city.
Thank you.
All right, now moving on to the final one. Agenda item 8A, case number 20230204, City of St. Pete Beach versus Patrick Helmer and Carolyn Helmer. This is a lien reduction case.
Please go to the overhead. Good morning, Madam Special Magistrate Pete Dewar, Code Enforcement Manager for the City of St. Pete Beach. You have before you a lien reduction, and on the overhead is your order from January 11, 2024. I'd like you to note on that order, you reduced the fine to $50 per day, and the lien reduction request is to reduce the fines to $3,000. The city is asking for the entire $29,448, which is $29,000 for the lien amount plus the administrative cost of $448.
Okay, did the city abate the code enforcement liens at any point during the emergency declarations for Helene or Milton?
No,
It was just a question.
no, I don't know.
I know it happened prior to,
Right.
but understanding that if they were trying to get building permits and they were unable to do so because of the two hurricanes, but if the city didn't abate them, they didn't abate them. I was
No.
just trying to figure that one out. Okay, is the property owner here? Okay, if you could please come up, state your name for the record, and please tell me about your lien reduction request.
Yes, good morning. My name is Patrick Helmer, and as I've stated on the application for the lien request, there were several issues that continue to remain beyond our control. The most recent being not only the hurricanes, but the impact that had on the city's functioning, but also in that process, we were required to break up our renovation permit into two separate permits, one that addressed damages and the other that addressed renovations. But prior to that, and one of the things that led up to your original order was the fact that we were facing, I don't know what kind of obstacles inside the city, but we had several officials that we had to deal with. I had contractors that said that they were doing things and they were not doing things. Up until December, we lived in Atlanta, and we were trying to manage all this remotely, and it was just a confluence of events that we thought we were in control of, but we weren't. And then the initial code enforcement violation having to do with several matters with respect to the physical property itself. We did get those addressed within the time frame for that initial hearing, but as I told you then, I had no control over the processes inside the city, and it just seemed.
I'm going to stop you right there, Mr. Helmer. So
Sure enough.
the original violation, yes, there were some things that were taken into account and that were fixed prior to the hearing. But the fact of the matter is that there was exterior and interior renovations conducted on that property without ever first getting a permit from the city.
And
So if that had been done first, and you had gone through that process, we would have never been at the initial hearing.
And unfortunately, I was not aware that that work had been done, you know.
Did you engage the services of the contractor?
Yeah, we did. And we did have some exterior demolition work done that we were aware of. I don't recall the exact circumstances, but there was a wooden dock and living area that had been created that had been, it was in such a state of disrepair that we were told we needed to get it removed, so we got rid of it. And there were some concrete slabs that were outside. I was not aware of the interior demo work that was done without the permit. You know, I think the contractor at the time took it upon himself to do that work.
Okay, and I think I took all that into account. I can specifically recall I took all that into account, which is why you didn't get a $250 a day fine.
That's right.
So then tell me what happened after my orders dated January 11th, 2024. Albeit those hurricanes did occur, but they did not happen until October.
later.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that took place, and I don't have a calendar in front of me of the timeline, but my recollection is it took 6 to 8 months because there was some questions about the structural, the structure of the building itself. And long story short, there was an interior wall that separated what was an enclosed Florida room that had been incorporated into the living area, but there was a structure there, and supposedly the truss system was resting on that as a load-bearing wall. And it took months and months. We had a special engineering survey done. We did some work to expose the ceiling so that inspectors could look at it and make their own assessment. And finally, ultimately, it was determined that the load-bearing wall was in fact the rear wall. Well, that process took, like I said, 6 to 8 months at the very least. And I could certainly provide documentation to that.
Well, your testimony is plenty. I'm just trying to weigh the understanding, and I can understand your perspective. You hired a contractor, you had faith in the contractor. Like I said at the beginning of this, I'm also a lawyer, so I'm also putting my lawyer hat on saying,
Sure.
well, if it's my property and I've engaged the services of somebody to work on my behalf and be my agent, I'm responsible for their actions. So, and you haven't been in front of me many times, which is a good thing. But, these saying that ignorance is a law is not excuse of the law. The ignorance of your projects is not necessarily an excuse. So
Right.
My thought process is I appreciate your lien reduction request. I appreciate the support behind it. However, if you had, maybe it was just a mistake of the contractor, but ultimately the property owner is responsible for it. And if you had gotten the prior permits before, this wouldn't have even been an issue.
Right.
So I am sitting in a place of equity, so I can balance those. But I don't believe that putting the onus on the city and saying it took 8 months for them because if you had to engage additional engineers and stuff to do something that was otherwise done as unpermitted, feel like you probably should have some animus with your contractor.
Yes, we do. And in fact, I've been expecting a phone call from legal counsel with respect to that, but and you're absolutely right. I take responsibility for what happened and what didn't happen. So I'm not trying to avoid that or diminish that. I am asking that given all of the circumstances that we encountered and fought through to get to a place where we are now in possession of 2 permits to renovate the home, that we in fact can move forward with that. And, you know, yes, I understand that there's a penalty for what has transpired. I'm just asking that it be reduced.
And how did you come up with, or was there any rhyme or reason to the reduction request at 3,000?
Well, one of the rhymes or reasons had to do with the fact that, well, while there may not have been any abatement with respect to the hurricanes and everything, to me, and another thing, it wasn't until I actually stepped in and started aggressively taking over the process of getting our permits in hand, that we actually, I feel, started to make some progress. But then with the hurricanes last September, you know, everything went crazy. But prior to that, you know, it wasn't that easy either. And I don't know how much of that was St. Pete Beach versus our contractor, and I'm now beginning to believe that it was our contractor not doing the things that he said that he was doing more than what was going on at the city. But I guess part of my $3,000 was the fact that this past year was, there's certainly nothing that I could control. It's nothing you guys could control. And I can only imagine what it's been like, you know, to be inundated with as much stuff as the city's been inundated with. But I just kind of, in my mind, said, okay, well, you know, everybody should get some kind of break for this past year. So that's part of it.
So this is not your primary home? You said you live in Atlanta?
No, we moved. We moved in December, but by then, you know, our house, like everybody else's, was 3 feet underwater.
Right.
So we're actually living in Palmetto right now.
Okay. And you said you had to apply for multiple permits?
Yeah.
Did they end up all being after-the-fact permits? I guess my question is, when you get an after-the-fact permit, it's usually 3 times the cost for the building permit. So your building permit fee can be, say it's $1,000 for your building permit fee. If it's an after-the-fact permit, it's a $3,000 building permit fee.
I got you. Actually, we paid for the permit, the original permit. I believe we paid for it. Oh, bear with me, please.
Sure. We paid for it quite some time ago. Sure.
That's not it. August 30 of '24, we paid $10,683.58, of which, as you pointed out previously, $5,956 of that was a fine for commencing work without a permit. So our permit cost was $5,000. Our penalty was almost $6,000.
Okay.
But we had paid for the permit in August of '24, and I believe just before Helene hit, we were pretty close to having that permit approved. And in between those times, that's when this engineering analysis was required.
But I guess my question is, how would in between August and, because my order was dated January 2024, so you had from January 2024 to when the permit was actually submitted in August 2024 to apply for the permit. Why isn't it that in January 2024 a permit wasn't applied for?
Because apparently we weren't ready. Actually, a previous permit had been applied for, but apparently it was inadequate. It did not have the necessary construction document level of work done with it. But we were under the impression that a permit was in fact applied for, and it had been redlined by the building department, and there were 6 items that needed clarification, and I didn't bring any of that with me.
Oh, no, that's fine. Can anyone from the city verify with me, when you apply for a permit, are you required to pay your building permit at the time of application, or do you pay for your building permit fee at the time of the issuance of the permit? I'm trying to get a good timeline here so I can figure it out.
Yeah, I think it's before the review process.
So it's at the time of the submission of the application?
Right. Before, yeah, review.
Now, you don't have to pay to submit it, but you do have to pay before it's submitted for review. So once you submit an application, it goes through initial checklist of, do we have all the things that we need for the actual application? And then once that's cleared, then you pay for the permit to be reviewed by the building department, planning and zoning, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so it sounds like is maybe the permit might have been applied for, or the checklist never got met because whatever documents were not completed, and then that took 6 to 8 months, and then in August it had been applied for review, and then the building permit fee was assessed. Okay. Thank you for the clarification. Okay, anything else that you would like to say in support of your lien reduction request before I make my ruling?
I wish I had that time machine you were talking about.
Don't we all?
We had no idea that this was going to happen the way it's happened. It's been 5 years since we purchased the property, and, you know, we're still trying to get into it. And it's just been, it just seems like one speed bump after another stop sign, after another, you know, brick wall. And, you know, this is a substantial cost as it is right now. And as I say, that's, I kind of picked the $3,000 number kind of out of the air.
Okay. All right, well, thank you very much. I have taken all that into consideration. I am going to grant a lien reduction request. I am taking into account the credible testimony that was given at the prior hearing, my reduced fine amount of $50 a day, and then the credible testimony that was given here today with regard to control the contractor, et cetera. I'm also balancing that against the responsibility of the property owner to be in control of their agents and understand that just because it's their property, they can't see that responsibility to someone else. I'm also considering the after-the-fact permit fee, which was triple the fee, with the additional $5,900 as a punitive measure for securing the after-the-fact permit. With all of that being said, I am going to reduce the fine amount to $6,000 plus the $448 in reasonable administrative costs of the city. I am going to allow for 30 days to have that be paid. If it's not paid within the 30 days, then the fine amount will revert back, and it will be within 30 days of my order. So make sure I have your contact information, and I will get that out to you as soon as I can.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Magistrate.
Yes.
Can I just have you real quick? The code requires for lien reductions that you make a specific finding that no violation of a city ordinance exists on the subject property.
That will be included in my order. That was presented within the application packet, so that will be included in my order as well. Thank you so much, Attorney Berryman. I appreciate that. Anything else from the city? Okay. Then we are, our next meeting is scheduled for December 8th. And I will see you all then. Thank you very much.